Welcome to the 2-minute drills. The 2012 season has arrived. I'm Aram Talegian, San Gabriel Valley Newspaper Group football writer, joined by Fred J. Robledo, the San Gabriel Valley Tribune prep sports editor. We are talking about the big one as far as Laverne and San Dimas are concerned. Bonita against San Dimas at Citrus College on Thursday night at 7 p.m. The Smudge Pot game, Freddie. It doesn't get bigger than this. It's a great way to start the season. I mean, you talk about one of the better crowds you're going to see, all year. Right. And you talk about a fierce rivalry right off the bat.
Right. I mean, this game, the last few years that I've covered it, I mean, it's great. I think it's the best rivalry in the area. And these past 2 years, Aram, it's been the rivalry that kicks off the season. This game is going to be on Thursday night. Now, Bonita has won the last two Smudge Pots over San Dimas. San Dimas had that little run, then Bonita took over. I was talking to Coach Zernico earlier this week about that game, and he says being an undersized team, he says conditioning, he thinks comes into play, and he was playing some mind games talking about, for coaches it makes it tough because they really don't know enough about these other teams. He said it kind of takes the coaches out of the game somewhat in terms of game planning because they can't make adjustments from looking at a team previous weeks. But hey, I think both teams are in that same boat. I just think Bonita has been better, more physical the last 2 years, and you've seen it in that game.
Well, I don't know what kind of game planning you really need to do if you're San Dimas or if you're Bonita. You know the other guy so well. Everyone's kind of aware of the talent levels on hand, and everyone's very aware, or at least they should be, of what type of offense San Dimas likes to run and what type of offense Bonita likes to run. I mean, that's kind of the thing about this game. These two teams should know each other well enough by now that you don't need to have them play 3 games just to kind of figure things out
But it's not easy when it's the first game of the season. You're juggling the first game of the season and the emotion of a rivalry. That's pretty tough. I mean, there's going to be mistakes that you make in week 0 that you may not make in week 5. I mean, there just are. So that's why it's a hard game to pick. But look, Bonita's really handled San Dimas these past 2 years. In this game, they've just looked like the stronger team. But the funny thing is, if you look at these teams as the years progress down the road, it seems like San Dimas always seems to get better. They're a team that gets better in 8, 9, or 10, and Bonita hasn't.
Yeah,
so
that was the strange thing last year, Fred. I mean, you saw Bonita come alive in that game kind of from the second quarter on. They win the game 40-20. You thought they're poised for a big season, and you thought, well, San Dimas, man, they may be in a little bit of trouble. The exact opposite. San Dimas goes on to beat Monrovia. They go on to finish second behind a very good Covina team in league. They reached the semifinals of the playoffs. Bonita, like you said, went south.
Right.
I mean, it all went south. I mean, if you saw that team in league offensively, they were horrible.
Yeah, I remember leaving that first game thinking San Dimas is done. We're not going to see nothing from them the rest of the season. Yeah. And they turned out, like you said, another semifinal showing. And
kudos to the coaching staff.
All they could handle.
Right. This will be the debut of new Bonita head coach Adrian Medrano. What a way for him to start, Fred. I mean, he does have Coach Podley and Coach Medina still helping him out, but what a way for him to start.
Yeah, and I was talking to him. He said he doesn't know who's more nervous, him or the players. I mean, seriously, I mean, it's your first game, and it's a smudge pot game, and he knows how important these games are. It's the one game in the schedule. If you're not going to win a CI championship, if you're not going to win league, this is the game you don't want to lose. I think being on staff a lot of the years, he understands that. So, other than just having the first game jitters and getting nervous, I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine, too. Let's start getting into predictions and breaking down this game, Fred. What do you see happening out there?
Well, the one thing that with San Dimas and talking to Zernico when we were working on our preseason magazine, they had 8 starters back on defense, which is huge to me because I've always thought this is a team that's going to be able to score points. Right. He was happy with his linebackers. He was happy with everyone that he had. And that's big for San Dimas because when they've been good, they've been able to shut teams down. Like I said, they've always been able to score 30, 40 points a game. And I like that coming into a season. Also, since they've lost the last 2 games, I think there's more of a chip on their shoulder than there might be with Bonita. And like you said, with Medrano being his very first year, I like San Dimas to steal this one, Aram. First game of the year. I really do. Our rankings are going to come out later in the week, and I'm going to have, I'll tell you now, I'm going to have Bonita ranked. But in this first game, I like San Dimas, I like the situation they're in to steal this one opening night.
I'm going back to the well on Bonita. I picked them last year when a lot of people picked San Dimas. San Dimas is breaking in a new quarterback. Let's not lose sight of that. And I know that the San Dimas quarterbacks through the years have somewhat been caretakers of the offense, that type of thing. they do have very good skill talent. I mean, you talk about guys like Jake Payton, the running back, or Reap, the big receiver. I just think that with Bonita having Tanner Diebold back at quarterback with a full offseason to kind of, get better and work on the things that didn't go right last year as a sophomore, and they still have a viable weapon in Reggie Turner back. It hurts that they don't have Garrett Ryan. I just think that when you look at this is a Hacienda League, a Southeast Division team taking on a Valle Vista League, Mid-Valley Division team. I think this game's close, Fred. I don't think it's going to be a blowout last year, but I think Bonita's going to pull this one out.
That's the one guy I really am curious to see Thursday night, Aram, is Tanner Diebold. I mean, you just mentioned him. I thought he was great in stretches last year. He was injured, and he's an incredible athlete. And from everything that I've heard, he's had a pretty good spring and summer. And if that guy catches fire, if he gets going, then I think Bonita can have a very, very good season. They're not going to win the Hacienda League, obviously, with West Covina, but they could be really good. He's a big key on Thursday night and how he manages that game.
Right. An underestimated thing here also, I think, is that Bonita's familiarity with Stan Demas and the type of offense that they run. If things are even or even shaded towards Bonita at the line of scrimmage, which I think they're going to be, I think that gives Bonita an edge. They're not going to be surprised by anything they see from San Dimas on Thursday night. So that's just why I just feel that they're the bigger team. I think they'll impose their will kind of like they did last year, and I think they get this win. You got San Dimas. I've got Bonita. Get out there on Thursday night at Citrus College. This is the Smudge Pot game. Great way to start the season. You don't want to miss it, and we will all see you there.